back to my channel. My name is Ellie and I make lifestyle, mom life, and budgeting videos here on YouTube. I'm so happy you came back for another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to start your first budget or how to get back into budgeting, what you should do when you start your budget. So I'm going to give you 5 tips. Now the first 3 are ones you should do in order, but the other 2 are just more tips on what you should do and shouldn't do, etc., etc. So number 1, you should set your financial goal. Now, if you have debt, your financial goal short term, or yeah, probably short term or medium term, will be to pay off that debt. If you don't have any debt and you're saving for a specific item, then you might have a financial goal of going to Mexico or buying a vehicle. But if you don't have debt, you should always be putting at least 20% away into savings. Now that's not saving for a car or for a bike or whatever it might be. That is to save for your retirement. I hate saying 20% because I know that some people can't do that much. It's physically impossible. What I would say in that case is to try to get another job, a higher paying job if possible. It's not always possible, but generally speaking, you want to put 20% away. Once you get paid, you want to put 20% away for savings. Now, like I said before, if you have debt, that will not be the case. But regardless of the situation you are in, you need to set a goal, because if you don't have a goal, then you won't meet it. Number 2, you want to get a list of all your categories of expenses. So your biggest ones will be grocery, fuel, going out, and then that will depend and vary from person to person. If you have kids, there might be some kid expenses in there, school activities, etc., etc. But regardless, you need to make your own categories and put down how much you think you need to spend or that you have previously spent in previous months on each category, and get that on paper. Then once you see it on paper, you will sometimes be shocked at the amount of money you spend on each category. But anyway, that's not that important right now. You want to get your categories down and get your expenses listed. Now, going back to tip number 1, if you have debt, you're gonna want to decrease each category by as much as possible, or make it as little as possible. Depending on your lifestyle, you might not want to do that, but I promise you it's worth it, because you want to pay off your debt as quick as possible. If you don't have debt and you're just saving, then you might have some more wiggle room, and the amount might differ, because you'll have, like, let's say 20% that goes to savings, so your amounts that you get to spend each month on various expense categories might be different. But that's the thing with having debt, right? We got ourselves into debt, and so we have to dig ourselves out. So good for you if you don't have debt. You can spend a bit more on other things. Number 3, now this one is very important. You need to this one's not so much before you start your budget, but it's kind of goes along with doing your first budget, is to track those expense categories for a couple of months and tweak them. So if you have $50 for gas and you end up spending $60 or $70 for 2 consecutive months without any like extraordinary trips or whatever it might be. So yeah, you might realize that $50 for fuel is not reasonable, that you aren't doing anything extraordinary trips wise or driving wise, but you're still spending more than the $50. So you need to adjust that, because you want your budget to be as realistic and as achievable as possible. And the same goes for if you realize that you could be spending less on groceries or less on going out, then adjust those expenses down. And so after a couple of months of doing this, your budget will become more and more accurate and more attainable, if you will. But keep in mind for the future that you will have to adjust it, like probably almost every month or every couple months. You'll have to adjust something depending on if you get a dog, or if you have a kid or if you get a second kid or whatever it might be. So you have to be a little bit flexible, but not just be like all willy-wily on, you know, oh well, we just spend a little more here and there, because then it's no point in budgeting. So I would say walk down the middle, try to be reasonable with that. So number 4 is to borrow across but never down. So I'll explain in a minute what I mean by that. So most of my budgeting tips and my budgeting, the way we budget, is from Dave Ramsey. We love his teachings, his what's it called, Financial Peace University, I believe. It's just helped us so much. But I've picked up a couple of things that I kind of added to our method, and one of them is from funcheaperfree.com. I think her name is Jordan Page. I love her. But anyway, I watched one of her videos one time, and she said to that if you need more in a certain category of expense, take some from a different category, but never borrow from that category in the next month. I will try to do a quick drawing for you to show you what I mean. Okay, so I've drawn it out here for you. So I've just kept it to 2 categories just for simplicity reasons. This works all the way with all your categories. So your number 1 usually is groceries. So I have that here, and let's say, just for the purpose of this video, that you've budgeted $600 for grocery and $300 for going out. Now you get to, you know, week 3, and you realize, oh, I think I might need an extra $50 for groceries. So what you do is you borrow from here. So you add 50, so now you have $650 over here, and you take away the $50 over here, and you're left with $250. So now that month you get to spend $50 less on your going out, but you have $50 more for your groceries. Now why this is really, really, really important is because if you, so let's say this is for September and October. So let's say you borrowed $50 from groceries for the next month. Now you only have $550. And of course, grocery tends to be a difficult one to cut. I mean, there is a lot of tips on how to cut your grocery budget, but that's, I would argue, one of the most important things, because it's important to eat well. Anyway, so if you borrow $50 from your October groceries, now you only have $550 left in October, and then you know, like, oh my gosh, I need $650 again. And now you're going into November with $100 less. So at some point, you're just gonna have no money for groceries. So it's really, really important to borrow across but not downwards. Because if you keep borrowing down, and let's say in November you have, you know, you end up just making less of a debt payment or putting less in savings, now it's defeating the purpose of a budget. Now I can almost guarantee you that if you borrow across, there's categories that you have some leeway. For example, going out, well, it's not a need for most of us anyways. Like, you can pack a lunch or you can just make food at home. So spending $50 less a month, like, that might be a sacrifice, but you're not breaking your budget, and that's really, really important. Now my 5th and final tip is more of an encouragement than a tip, but just keep doing it, and it will get easier and easier each month, because you will have a more accurate view of your own, what you spend yourself, and it'll get easier as time goes on. Yeah, I would say that probably within 3 or 4 months you will become almost a pro at budgeting. And if you are married, then I'm hoping that your spouse jumps on board with you in budgeting. I think that it's so important to be debt-free, which we're not yet, but that's what we're working towards, and to save for your future. I think you can go through the day-to-day life a lot less stressed out if you know that if something bad happened, or that you're safe, financially speaking, that you're safe. And knowing that once you're older, that you will have a good retirement. Yeah, so I hope you found this video helpful. Leave some comments down below on what your tips would be to other new budgeters. Is that a word? Yeah, so let's just help each other out. Let's help each other meet our financial goals. and take it one step at a time. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like this video if you like it. Bye. Mwah.